So just remember how absolutely batshit crazy you sound saying this, because I'm right, you're wrong.
Hello YouTube, and welcome to the Body Honesty Project. My name is Lydia, and today we are doing another Tess Holliday video because the woman is a Bible of logical fallacies, and I just couldn't resist this one because she served it up to me on a silver platter. There are so many logical fallacies that fall out of this woman's mouth. I could probably do a whole series called Logical Fallacies with Tess Holliday. But this one was such a blatant appeal to authority. And she walked into it. I had to do it. But before we get into Tess's TikTok, I think that we need to learn a little bit more about the logical fallacy of appeal to authority. So why don't we watch this next clip, then come back and discuss. The appeal to authority is a form of argument that uses the opinion of an authority as evidence. For example, I believe that the Earth is round because physicists and astronomers say so. Where this can become a fallacy is if the authoritative resource has no authority on the subject. For example, I believe that the Earth is flat because astrologers say so. Well, although astrologers do use the stars in the sky to plot their work, their expertise has nothing to do with proving that the Earth is flat. They are not an authority on the subject. This is common when the authoritative resource has authority on something adjacent to the topic, but not the actual topic itself. Astronomers and astrologers may both observe celestial bodies, but only one of them uses science to make their claims. This also happens when the authority is a legitimate authority in another domain. For example, if Albert Einstein were to claim that there is no value in organized religion, well, Einstein was a smart guy and an authority in physics, but he has no authority in religion. Just because you're an authority in one domain doesn't mean that you're an authority in all. This also happens when a person uses someone else's knowledge to validate their own. My uncle is a mechanic, so therefore I know everything about cars. Well, just because your uncle is a mechanic, it doesn't mean that you know what he does. Having authoritative figures give us information is valuable. We can't expect to know everything ourselves, so we need to know who to turn to for answers. But when we use people that are not authorities as authorities, we have created a logical fallacy. And that logical fallacy doesn't prove anything. So now that we know a little bit more about the appeal to authority logical fallacy, let's look at how Tess exemplifies it so perfectly.
I get this comment a lot anytime I publicly talk about my ED, and you don't have to believe me, but do you really think that the medical community and nutritionists and all of the experts that they interview when they also interview me that agree with me, do you think that they're all lying? So just remember how absolutely batshit crazy you sound saying this, because I'm right, you're wrong.
Okay, so the first thing we have to address here is who is the authority? Tess, you were on talk shows with talk show hosts. We have ABC News, we have the Today Show, we have Tamron Hall. None of these people are authorities on anything. None. They're not authorities. If they believe you, it doesn't make you any more credible. The only resource that you have that is adjacent to being credible is Anna Sweeney, a dietitian that cannot diagnose you with anorexia. So you don't have any credibility of authority of people that are telling you that you're right. None. Also, these journalists don't say they believe you. They lead you down so that you can tell your story. But nobody is saying, oh, Tess, you're right. No, they're just letting you spout off. Nobody is challenging you. Nobody is saying you are right. Nobody is saying you are wrong. They're just letting you spout. Also, there is journalistic editing that spouts out facts about anorexia, but they're not validating your claim. It's completely different. Just because they flash up a statistic saying, you know what, 10% of people can also be obese and anorexic, and then they show your face, it doesn't mean that you have that. This is all journalistic editing.
Eating disorders are extremely common and may affect nearly 1 in every 10 people. According to a study, about 9% of the U.S. population, almost 29 million people, will have an eating disorder in their lifetime.
The stupidity of this woman infuriates me. The argument of other people believe me, so I must be right is asinine. I can't imagine my 12-year-old using this logic on me. The other thing I'm going to call Tess out on is her consistency of this story, because I don't hear anybody else calling her out on this. She has 2 versions of when she found out that she had anorexia. She has one version that came from her dietitian, Anna Sweeney.
Well, during the pandemic, it caused me to slow down like it did most of us. And I started really examining how I was feeding my body or the lack thereof. And I met who I now work with, my dietitian, Anna Sweeney. I met her through a conference that we did, a virtual conference. And I reached out to her and I said, I think I need help. And when I reached out to her, I thought that I was overeating. I thought that I was binge eating. I thought that it was everything but what she said. And about 5 months into our sessions, she said, I can't diagnose you properly, but if I could, I would diagnose you as anorexia nervosa. And I was sitting on my kitchen counter and I remember her saying it and I just laughed. I went, no. Like,
why did you react that way?
Because look at me. I was like, I'm fat. Like when you think of the term anorexia, you associate it with emaciated bodies. I had no idea that it could be me. And then I just was flooded with all kinds of feelings because I thought if I would have known that this was a possibility, I could have gotten help sooner if there wasn't so much weight by a stigma in the medical industry. Someone could have helped me before I got to this point.
And then she has another version that comes from a psychologist.
Tess says it was her psychologist who initially diagnosed her, a shock, even for the model.
I told the psychologist, well, I won't eat all day. I'll maybe have like coffee or maybe I'll have, a handful of whatever's around me. And then at nighttime, I'll have my meal or snacks or whatever. So I thought that meant that I was a binge eater. And the psychologist looked at me and said, you're anorexic. And then I just started crying.
And I call bullshit on both of them because she pretends like she was bowled over both times. I'm sorry, but if one person tells you that you have anorexia and the other person confirms it, you don't get to be bowled over twice. Like you were either bowled over here or you were bowled over there. It should not be a fucking surprise. Like the 2 versions of the story are still floating out there. Did she find out from Anna or did she find out from her psychologist? No one's calling her on this bullshit. I do not care what other talk show hosts have let you say on the air. I do not. It's not factually sound because you cannot gain 100 pounds and be anorexic. It is freaking impossible. So I'm right, you're wrong. So until next time, stay body positive, but also body honest.